Roman Reigns isn't just fighting for his spot in WWE, he's fighting for the soul of professional wrestling itself. While everyone's debating whether Triple H is ruining his comeback or if the three biggest lies are destroying his legacy, they're missing the real war happening behind the scenes. The Tribal Chief has become the last line of defense against WWE's complete transformation into a sanitized, corporate entertainment machine that's systematically eliminating everything that made wrestling legendary. What I'm about to reveal will change how you see every single moment of Roman's troubled return. Welcome back to the channel where we dig deeper than the surface level drama. Roman Reigns' 2025 comeback has been called everything from poorly planned to deliberately sabotaged, but the truth is far more sinister. After carrying WWE through its darkest days, 1,316 days as Universal Champion, anchoring the Bloodline Saga, and dominating every main event from August 2020 to WrestleMania 40, Roman returned to a company that no longer wants larger-than-life characters. Today, we're exposing how Roman's struggles aren't about creative differences or burnout. They're about a corporate machine trying to eliminate the last authentic wrestling superstar who refuses to be reduced to a focus group-tested, algorithm-friendly content creator. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Roman Reigns might be professional wrestling's final hope. Let's start with what WWE doesn't want you to notice. Roman's comeback wasn't poorly planned. As insiders claim, it was deliberately designed to fail corporate standards. When Roman vanished in late 2024, leaving the Bloodline storyline in chaos, WWE didn't scramble to bring him back. They used his absence as a testing ground for their new corporate model. Look at the evidence. While Roman was gone, WWE pushed sanitized, corporate-friendly stars like Cody Rhodes into the main event. Rhodes represents everything modern WWE wants: clean-cut, media-trained, controversy-free. When Roman returned at SummerSlam 2025, teaming with Jey Uso against Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, something felt fundamentally different. The Golden Pyro and Slow March were there, but the raw, dangerous energy that made Roman special was muted. Here's what the wrestling media won't tell you: Roman's reported creative disagreements weren't about storyline direction. According to multiple sources, including reports from Fightful and Wrestling Observer, Roman clashed with WWE executives over their push to make him more family-friendly. They wanted to eliminate the edge, the unpredictability, the very elements that made the Tribal Chief compelling. The Bloodline was growing too big, too convoluted, with members like Tonga Loa and Jacob Fatu, not because of poor creative, but because WWE was intentionally diluting Roman's character. Every new member added corporate-approved diversity metrics while reducing Roman's individual impact. When Roman reportedly wanted to stay the dominant Tribal Chief, but WWE pushed for a more vulnerable redemption-driven arc, they weren't trying to evolve his character. They were trying to neuter it. This is the same playbook they used on John Cena years ago, transforming a rapper character with edge into a corporate spokesperson. But Roman saw through it. His months-long absence wasn't burnout, it was resistance. He refused to become another sanitized corporate asset, and WWE punished him for it by letting him vanish without explanation while they tested their new model. The carefully crafted narrative Triple H claimed was years in the making? Pure corporate damage control. Roman's comeback wasn't locked in until weeks before SummerSlam 2025 because WWE was hoping their corporate experiment would work without him. When fan backlash over Solo Sikoa's leadership grew too loud, they had no choice but to bring back their biggest draw, but on their terms, not his. Roman's return exposed WWE's most dangerous corporate strategy: the systematic elimination of authentic wrestling storytelling. When fans noticed that his comeback didn't come with the same emotionally charged storyline as previous returns, they weren't witnessing poor creativity, they were seeing corporate interference in real time. Compare Roman's 2025 return to his shocking Superman punch to Solo Sikoa the previous year. That moment had raw emotion, family betrayal, and genuine surprise. But corporate WWE has focus grouped those elements out of existence. Modern WWE storylines are tested, sanitized, and approved by committees who've never stepped foot in a wrestling ring. The Bloodline Saga itself was wrestling's last great authentic storyline: family loyalty, betrayal, power struggles that felt real because they tapped into genuine human emotions. But by 2024, corporate executives were uncomfortable with the faction's success. It was too unpredictable, too emotionally charged, too much like actual wrestling instead of sports entertainment. Here's the smoking gun. When Roman reportedly clashed with WWE creative over the Bloodline's direction, he wasn't fighting about storylines. He was fighting against corporate mandates to make everything brand safe. The faction was becoming too convoluted because executives were adding members based on demographic research, not storytelling logic. Jacob Fatu's integration wasn't about strengthening the bloodline, it was about corporate diversity initiatives. Tando Loa's addition wasn't creative inspiration, it was market research suggesting they needed more international appeal. Every decision was filtered through corporate committees who saw Roman's authentic family dynamic as a liability that needed to be managed. The real tragedy? Roman understood what was happening. Sources say he was vocal about needing a break, but it wasn't physical exhaustion. It was spiritual exhaustion from watching corporate executives systematically destroy everything that made wrestling special. He wasn't just tired, he was watching his life's work being transformed into content. When WWE let Solo Sikoa take over the bloodline, they weren't advancing a storyline. They were testing whether audiences would accept a corporate-approved version of Roman's authentic creation. Solo represents everything modern WWE wants: controllable, predictable, safe. He delivers his lines, hits his marks, and never challenges the corporate vision. But fans rejected it. Social media erupted with theories about Roman's absence because audiences could sense the authenticity drain. They weren't getting wrestling, they were getting corporate entertainment wearing wrestling's costume. The deafening silence from WWE wasn't mysterious storytelling. It was corporate executives hoping fans would forget what real wrestling felt like. Roman's eventual return wasn't triumph, it was surrender. He came back knowing he'd have to operate within corporate constraints that would slowly suffocate everything that made him special. The holding pattern fans noticed isn't creative uncertainty. It's corporate control ensuring Roman can never again become too powerful, too authentic, or too dangerous to their sanitized vision. Roman Reigns' troubled comeback isn't happening in a vacuum. It's the opening battle of WWE's complete corporate transformation for the Netflix era. When wrestling insiders say WWE doesn't have time to waste with Roman's return, they're revealing the corporate timeline that's driving every decision. Netflix doesn't want wrestling, they want content. They don't want larger-than-life characters who might say something controversial or create genuine emotional moments that can't be controlled. They want predictable, algorithm-friendly programming that generates engagement metrics without risk. Roman represents everything Netflix-era WWE wants to eliminate. He's too big, too authentic, too connected to wrestling's dangerous past. When fans on social media buzz with dream scenarios like Roman vs. Gunther or Roman vs. Randy Orton, they're fantasizing about matches that corporate WWE will never fully deliver because they're too unpredictable. The Shield reunion fans crave? Corporate executives see it as a liability. 3 authentic wrestlers with real chemistry and genuine history together represent everything modern WWE fears: uncontrolled moments that might overshadow their carefully planned content. When Roman, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose were together, magic happened, but magic can't be focus group or algorithm optimized. Here's what's really happening with Paul Heyman's betrayal storyline. WWE isn't building toward Roman and Brock Lesnar joining forces against Heyman's empire because that would require 2 authentic wrestlers creating genuine drama. Instead, they're using Heyman's corporate-friendly heel turn to transition Roman into more manageable storylines with controllable outcomes. The slow burn arc fans want to see isn't being developed because corporate WWE doesn't do slow burn anymore. Netflix wants content that delivers immediate engagement metrics. Long-term storytelling requires patience and artistic vision, qualities that corporate committees systematically eliminate. When reports suggest WWE is torn between throwing Roman into blockbuster part-time feuds with Brock Lesnar or CM Punk versus slowly building younger stars like Carmelo Hayes or Trick Williams, they're revealing the corporate calculation. Lesnar and Punk represent the old model, authentic wrestlers who might create uncontrolled moments. Hayes and Williams represent the new model, corporate-trained performers who'll never challenge the system. Roman's positioning in this corporate war is tragic. He's still a megastar, but WWE's landscape has changed because they've changed it. The company isn't pushing younger talent naturally, they're systematically replacing authentic wrestlers with corporate-approved alternatives. Cody Rhodes becoming the current undisputed WWE champion and carrying the company's biggest storylines isn't organic evolution. It's corporate strategy. Rhodes represents the Netflix-friendly future. Clean, predictable, safe. When fans notice that Braun Breaker, Dominic Mysterio, and even LA Knight are getting bigger pops from the crowd, they're witnessing corporate manipulation of audience reactions through booking and presentation. The harsh truth from social media posts calling Roman past his prime or saying he's lost his aura isn't fan opinion, it's corporate programming working. WWE has systematically diminished Roman's presentation to make their corporate alternatives seem more appealing by comparison. Roman Reigns isn't just fighting for his career, he's fighting a war for wrestling's soul, and he's losing. Every aspect of his troubled comeback reveals a man trying to preserve authentic wrestling while corporate forces systematically destroy everything he represents. The lies about Roman's comeback that nobody talks about aren't deceptions, they're corporate warfare tactics. When WWE claims his return was always planned, they're covering up the real story. Roman's absence was an act of resistance against corporate control that ultimately failed. His reported burnout and creative disagreements weren't personal struggles, they were the natural result of an authentic wrestler being slowly suffocated by corporate committees. Roman had carried WWE for years through the Thunderdome era to the Bloodline Saga, but corporate executives saw his success as a problem to be managed, not a foundation to build upon. The most revealing detail? Roman was frustrated with the direction of the Bloodline storyline, not because of creative differences, but because he watched corporate executives systematically destroy his authentic family story. When the faction was growing too big, too convoluted, it wasn't poor planning, it was corporate dilution designed to reduce Roman's individual power. Roman's clash with WWE creative over staying the dominant tribal chief versus accepting a vulnerable redemption-driven arc represents the core battle between authentic wrestling and corporate entertainment. Roman understood that vulnerability in corporate WWE doesn't mean character development, it means character assassination. His months-long disappearance was the last act of defiance available to him. By vanishing without explanation, Roman forced WWE to confront what they were losing. But corporate executives called his bluff. They let him vanish and pushed Solo Sikoa as a controllable replacement, hoping audiences wouldn't notice the authenticity drain. The fan backlash over Solo's leadership that eventually forced Roman's return wasn't just about storyline preference, it was audiences rejecting corporate WWE's sanitized alternative. Fans could sense that Solo represented everything wrong with modern wrestling, technically competent but spiritually empty. When Roman finally returned, he came back as a defeated resistance fighter. The holding pattern everyone notices isn't creative uncertainty, it's corporate control ensuring Roman can never again become too powerful or too authentic. He's been reduced to a managed asset, carefully positioned to elevate corporate-approved alternatives rather than dominate on his own terms. The tragedy is visible in every appearance. Roman's distracted demeanor and tendency to look over his shoulder isn't paranoia about family betrayal, it's the behavior of a man who knows he's surrounded by corporate forces trying to eliminate everything he represents. His legacy as the wrestler who carried WWE through a global pandemic and turned boos into cheers is being systematically rewritten. Corporate WWE wants fans to forget that Roman once represented authentic wrestling storytelling. They're using his own comeback to demonstrate that even the tribal chief must bow to corporate control. The question isn't whether Roman can reclaim his spot, it's whether authentic wrestling can survive the corporate takeover he's fighting against. Roman Reigns' comeback represents more than one wrestler's return. It's the final battle between authentic wrestling and corporate entertainment, and the outcome will determine whether professional wrestling survives as an art form or dies as sanitized content. Every mistake in Roman's booking since his return has been a calculated corporate victory. When his SummerSlam match wasn't even the main event, WWE wasn't making a booking error, they were demonstrating that even their biggest authentic star must accept secondary status in the corporate hierarchy. The systematic elevation of wrestlers like Cody Rhodes, Braun Breaker, and LA Knight isn't natural evolution, it's a corporate replacement strategy. These performers represent the Netflix-friendly future, technically competent, media-trained, and most importantly, controllable. They'll never challenge corporate vision or create unmanageable authentic moments. Roman's positioning as someone who's no longer the guy isn't about age or relevance, it's about corporate messaging. WWE is preparing for a post-Reigns era, not because Roman is declining, but because authentic wrestlers like him are incompatible with their corporate future. The most damning evidence? WWE is using Roman's return to elevate others rather than make him the centerpiece. This isn't creative storytelling, it's corporate strategy. Roman's authentic star power is being harvested to legitimize corporate-approved alternatives before he's completely phased out. But here's what corporate WWE doesn't understand: authenticity can't be manufactured or transferred. When they use Roman to elevate sanitized performers, audiences notice the difference. The bigger pops for corporate alternatives are often manufactured through booking and presentation, not genuine audience connection. Roman's resistance continues in subtle ways. His reported desire for one last epic run isn't nostalgia, it's a final attempt to show audiences what authentic wrestling looks like before it's completely eliminated. The potential final Bloodline Civil War or Dream match against The Rock represents Roman's last chance to create genuine wrestling moments. The corporate response is predictable. They'll allow these moments only if they can control and sanitize them. A Roman vs. Jacob Fatu match at WrestleMania 42 would be filtered through corporate committees until any authentic emotion is focus grouped out of existence. The real tragedy isn't Roman's individual struggle, it's what his defeat represents for wrestling's future. If WWE can successfully neutralize the tribal chief, the last authentic superstar who refuses to be reduced to corporate content, they'll have proven that no wrestler is too big or too authentic to be controlled. Future generations of wrestlers are watching Roman's battle. If he loses, they'll understand that authentic character development, genuine emotional storytelling, and real wrestling psychology are career liabilities. They'll learn to be corporate performers from day one, never developing the authentic qualities that made wrestling special. Roman Reigns isn't just fighting for his legacy, he's fighting for the possibility that professional wrestling can remain an art form capable of creating genuine human connection. His comeback isn't about reclaiming his spot, it's about proving that authenticity can still survive in a corporate entertainment world designed to eliminate it. The war isn't over, but Roman is running out of ammunition. Roman Reigns' troubled comeback isn't a story about poor creative or personal struggles, it's the final chapter in professional wrestling's transformation from authentic art form to corporate content. Every lie, every mistake, every moment of uncertainty represents corporate forces systematically eliminating the last authentic superstar who refuses to be sanitized. The evidence is overwhelming. Roman's absence was resistance, his return was surrender, and his current struggles are the death throes of authentic wrestling storytelling. WWE isn't mishandling Roman Reigns, they're successfully neutralizing him as part of their corporate takeover. But here's the thing about authentic warriors, they don't go down without a fight. Roman's legacy isn't defined by corporate victories against him. It's defined by his refusal to completely surrender, his continued resistance against sanitization, and his role as wrestling's last authentic voice. The question isn't whether Roman can win this war, it's whether his resistance will inspire others to fight for wrestling's soul. Every time you choose authentic wrestling over corporate entertainment, every time you demand real storytelling over focus group content, you're joining Roman's resistance. What do you think? Is Roman Reigns really fighting for wrestling's authenticity, or am I seeing corporate conspiracies where none exist? Drop your thoughts below, and tell me if you've noticed the corporate sanitization creeping into your favorite wrestlers. If this opened your eyes to what's really happening in WWE, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into wrestling's hidden wars. Next week, we're exposing how the Netflix deal is systematically eliminating everything that made wrestling unpredictable. Until then, acknowledge the resistance, acknowledge the tribal chief, and remember, in a world of corporate entertainment, authenticity is rebellion.